Okay, Nick, lead us off.
Hi, Billy. Thanks for taking the time today. If you could just tell us, what does just this mean to be back in Denver, a place where you played earlier in your career? When you first saw that this was going to kind of be an opportunity, what was just sort of the thinking about wanting to pursue it?
I mean, it's special. Anytime you get to play for a great organization like the Denver Broncos, it's always a special thing. And, on top of that, being able to play for one of the better people that I've met in this industry and someone who I consider one of my, great friends in this league, and Coach Hackett and some of the other guys that were also in Green Bay, you can't pass a situation like that down.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, Billy, congratulations. Welcome back to Denver. You just mentioned Nathaniel Hackett. What's the genesis of that relationship, and why did you guys get so close in Green Bay over the last few years?
I just think me and Hackett are cut from a similar cloth. We were able to have conversations that aren't specifically about football. We can talk about everyday life situations. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. We can talk about whatever, but it's funny talking to him a week or two ago. We can also just sit there and sit in silence and enjoy that also. Every day before practice, when we were together the last 3 years in Green Bay, when I would get ready for practice, tape my hands up and whatnot, he would just come over. He would sit next to me. Sometimes we would talk about things, sometimes we wouldn't, but it was one of those opportunities that we always had daily to sit there, to communicate, to learn about one another. And he's just one of those bright, positive souls that I've, fortunately had, the great pleasure of meeting in this industry. And, there's a lot of people that come and go in the world of professional sports. And when you're able to meet somebody that is a great person that, you're able to consider a friend like that, you never want to pass up a situation where, you have the opportunity to play for someone like that.
We'll go Kyle, then Brandon. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Billy, obviously a lot's happened since you were last in Denver. How do you think you have grown the most as a player from your last few years in Green Bay?
I've grown a lot of different ways. I think I'm a better football player now, but one thing that was very similar, my time in Denver and my time in Green Bay, is playing different positions. And, it's not always the funnest thing to do, but given injuries and how this league works, that was something that I was able to do in Green Bay no differently than I was here. And I think that has helped me as a player not only understand the game more, but also being able to focus in and hone in on some of my personal techniques a little bit more. And it's always fun to have a challenge, but at the same time, it's just one of those things that has kind of been a consistency throughout my career, and it probably will continue to be a consistency throughout my career. And, it's funny because looking back on those things, back in my time in Miami and my time kind of right when I got to Denver, as a young player, you don't really want to bounce around from position to position. And you hear coaches and older people tell you that it's going to enhance your value as a player and also make you a better player. But, as everyone knows, when you're young and they tell you that, look, it's going to go by at the blink of an eye, you never believe them until you're in that situation. And it's no different given me playing different positions. They tell you it's going to get better and it's going to make you a better football player. And you never really understand that and trust that until you're going into year 9 like I am right now.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Billy, I guess I have a two-parter for you. When you were looking at other teams, was Hackett and his family maybe the deciding factor? How many other teams were you looking at? And he told us the other day that you were his daughter's favorite player. So how often have you had that where you're a coach's kid's favorite player, and how special is that for you?
It's dope. It's very cool. And talking with Hackett and his family, it's cool because no different than the relationship I share with Nathaniel, we talk about a bunch of different things. It's not just football related. That's why we're tight. And, meeting his daughter, Everly, and talking with her and the rest of their family, Everly doesn't like me because I'm a football player and this, that, and the other. She likes me because of the other things that I do outside of football, the clothing, the art, and all these other things that she has interest in. you know? So it's a fully, you know, full circle, 360-degree family type of thing with the Hackett's. They're great people, you know, and that doesn't only show through, you know, Coach Hackett and the way that he coaches the game and communicates with his players and staff and how he treats people. That's a full circle thing with how their family operates and just how they exist in life.
We'll go Eric, then Darren. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, Billy, welcome back to Denver. What are your expectations in terms of where you're going to play, and have they kind of said to you, we're expecting you to start at right tackle, or what have the conversations been like there?
I personally don't have any expectations. I learned a long time ago not to go into any year, any game with any type of expectation, and you can talk to Coach Hackett about that. It's funny because when I was in Green Bay, you know, you might get to a Wednesday or Thursday and then you find out that you got to play a different position. Like that's just the norm for me. So I honestly have no expectations for any position for me to play. I can play all of those positions. I'm comfortable at all of those positions. So I personally, you know, I wouldn't pick one over the other, because my goal is to help this team win football games and to bring another championship to Denver. And however I can best do that is where I'm going to be.
If you no longer have a question, can you please lower your hand? We've got time for about a handful more. Go ahead, Darren.
Hey, Billy, welcome back. If it does come down to playing right tackle, which many of us believe it will happen, but if it does come down to that, understanding you can play other positions, what about your skill set do you think would work so well in the system with Russell Wilson as the quarterback?
It's going to be very similar to Green Bay system. You know, I understand Hackett's mindset and offensive philosophy, but, you know, my attributes as a player are my athleticism. I'm not a bigger guy. I'm not slow, but I'm quick on my feet. I'm able to move, and I'm athletic, and I use that to my advantage in the run game and in the pass game also. And knowing Russell, being another athlete himself, being able to make plays outside of the pocket, I think that's going to work to my advantage and his advantage also, being able to, you know, stay locked up with defensive ends and defensive linemen as he rolls out of the pocket.
Go ahead, Troy.
Billy, good to see you, my man. Happy you're back. When you come back and join a team that has Russell Wilson, I know you said you don't have personal expectations maybe going into a week or a season, but do you feel like this team does with Coach Hackett, that anything less than the playoffs would be a disappointment? And how are you embracing that? I guess we're arriving back in Denver with Russell Wilson now in place.
You know what? I'm not going to dig myself a hole here and comment or say anything I shouldn't say, because the National Football League is the National Football League for a reason. You play the best day in and day out, not only your own team, but the opponent's team. It doesn't matter what your record are. It doesn't mean you're a bad football team. It doesn't mean you have bad players. You know, I've been on plenty of teams that have had the most talent in the world, but the, you know, record at the end of the year does not show that. So Russell Wilson is a Hall of Fame player. He's one of the better quarterbacks to ever play this game. And with that being said, the entire team is not going to rest on Russell Wilson's back. That's how a team works. There's no one person that figures this whole thing out. And that's the best part about a football team. And, you know, getting to know Russ a little bit, that's the one thing that I have seen in him, is he knows how to command certain things that he wants to get done. But at the same time, being on this football team, me, the rest of the guys on this team, we all got to play our part and play our role for this team to be successful.
Let's go final three. George, Mike, then Brandon. Go ahead, George.
Yeah. Hey, Billy, just going off that quickly, how much did Russell maybe play a factor in your decision? I know you talked about Coach Hackett, but we've had a lot of free agents come through here and say Russell was a big factor in why they ended up signing here. How much have you talked with him, and how much was that a factor in your decision?
I mean, it definitely played a factor. You know, when you're looking at teams and you look at situations and you look at quarterbacks out there, Russell is one of those dudes that is going to win you a handful of games by himself. That's the type of, you know, caliber player that he is, you know. So you throw a bunch of other people into the mix with someone like that, and you have a really good situation on your hands. So, you know, nobody wants to necessarily end up on a football team that was, you know, a 1 or 2 win team the year prior. But you got to understand, how many times in the history of the NFL has a team gone from winning 0 games, 1 game, 2, 3, 4, 5, to being in the playoffs the next year, and to completely just turning it just looks like a completely different football team the next year, and, Wilson and Hackett and this organization as a whole, and the people that I met while I was here, all of that fully encompassed just played a role in me deciding to come back here.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Billy, the last time you were here, I think it's safe to say Garrett Bowles was struggling a little bit. You served as one of his mentors in those early years. And I was wondering what you thought about his growth. I mean, he got the contract, he got second team All-Pro. Have you checked in on him, and what do you think about how far he's come?
I've talked to Garrett a couple times in the past week and a half. And I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that Garrett struggled early on, because if we're calling ace and ace, a spade, the way that this league works, when you come in and you're a rookie, I don't care how old you are, I don't care where you come from, and you're starting day one at left tackle in an organization like the Denver Broncos in this division, that's not an easy thing for anyone. It's hard to come in and to make a complete impact from day one at that position, especially, with the defensive ends, the outside linebackers, the D tackles, just the freaks that exist in this conference, but in the league as is, it's tough, man. But you could see, in my opinion, every year that Garrett has been here, he's made an improvement. Excuse me, I don't have COVID, I swear. But he's made an improvement every single year. And it's not a surprise to me that he was a second team All-Pro all the way up until this point, and that he did get that contract, because he's a great football player. He's got great athleticism, the way that he moves out on the field. He's a good football player, so it's not a surprise to me, no.
Finish this off, Brandon.
And then Billy, kind of back to the question I asked you before I threw the Hackett daughter stuff at you. How many other teams were you looking at, or how many options did you have that wanted your services?
There was obviously a couple teams that me and my agent communicated with, but to be completely honest with you, at the end of the day, what it boiled down to was where I wanted to be and wanting to play for Coach Hackett. I like the Denver area. I like this organization, and I had a great time while I was here for those 2.5, 3 years prior in my career. And, I personally chose to come back here because of those reasons. I would love to end my career here if that's an option for me, and I would love to end my career playing for Coach Hackett. Obviously, in this league, it's not always that simple. You don't just get to pick and choose things like that. But you know what? For the time being, having an opportunity to play for someone who I consider a great friend, it was a no-brainer to me.
All right, Billy, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Nice to see you.
That's going to do it for today's availability. We'll be in touch about potential future availability when it's appropriate. Thanks so much for joining. We appreciate you guys.